Okay, I'm back in the back of the workshop area to fill up the tank and add the chemicals, the 2,4-D concentrate stuff to the tank as well. I do have gloves on because it's a chemical, and after my first two kids ended up having 6 toes, I thought maybe this was the cause of it. Of course, I'm just joking, but it's not a bad idea to wear gloves when you're dealing with these kind of chemicals. So it says to use 1 gallon of the high yield 2,4-D selective weed killer for 15 gallons of water. We're probably gonna stuff it full of like probably 20 gallons, and I have just a little extra here from a previous season, so it's not going to be not even 1 1/4 gallons, but we're going to do about 1 1/3 acres, 1 1/4 acres, something like that. So but I'm going to kind of thin it out just a little bit. You do have to check this stuff out. The active ingredients on some of these things is a very small amount, like if you get some of the stuff for the other lawn stuff that you can get. This one's 11.84% of active ingredients, and other ingredients is 88.16. And then I'm actually going to put in some high yield spreader sticker as well. Now you can use Dawn, like dish detergent, for this kind of stuff too, but this is just what I've selected. So, and then I was talking about the different concentrates, and this is another one that's 400 2,4-D weed killer, and its active ingredients for 2,4-D is 46.47%. So this one's substantially more concentrated than the other one, but I'm using the other one because it's more for a lawn. This one's for a lawn too. I mean, it can be used if you dilute it correctly and stuff, and I use this one on the back areas here in case there was any weeds I didn't want. And I don't know if I can tell a difference because I don't know if the weeds are back there that I didn't want necessarily, but there won't be any dollar weed, that's for sure. So anyways, let me get going on filling this thing up, and then I'll show you that I'm watering the lawn right now. I don't know if you can see the sprinklers, but they're just on a 2-minute cycle right now just to get the lawn wet. And then with this particular stuff, you're supposed to put it down when it's wet, and then you're supposed to let it sit. You're not supposed to water it in. With atrazine, which is specifically for St. Augustine, but doesn't work as well on dollarweed, and you can kind of put atrazine down probably just about any time of the year. Now, it does kill bahia. The bad part about these two grasses is they're susceptible to opposite chemicals, and so it's kind of hard. I'm kind of doing away with the bahia, but I still have the bahia in some areas, so I'm still trying to nourish it while it's still available, and the St. Augustine hasn't made it across the yard in those places. But the atrazine you kind of like put down when it's dry, and then you immediately water it in. So it's sort of a completely different application, like everything else between bahia and St. Augustine, is you have to do something completely different. So my goal is to get this filled up before the sprinkler system gets out here, because I do have a sprinkler head right there. So I might have to scoot this back a little bit. We'll see. So anyway, let me get going on this. Okay, so I'm going to get going on filling this up. I actually already have some in there, so this stuff definitely has a very distinctive smell to it. This tints it brown just a little bit. Using that super concentrated stuff, it's like the whole thing is like brown. So I guess 2,4-D is brown in nature. So, and I'm only going to use a little bit of this. It only says to use a little bit of the spreader sticker. So pretty sure I've used this before. It seems like it still has the, yeah, definitely this is not close to being full. It's probably more than I need. You only need a little bit of the spreader sticker. It goes a long way. And then the gallon. This one I'll probably have to pop open too. And then depending on the application that you're doing it for fields or whatever, it will tell you to do different amounts, different concentrations depending on the application, whether it's pasture lands or, you know, roadsides or anything like that. So again, I'm using about what it tells you to use. And this is pretty decent active ingredients compared to some of the other stuff you get in the store. And I got this from Ace Hardware. I know I could probably buy it online cheaper somewhere, but you know, it's just as easy to get it there. So, I mean, and you know, somebody's got to keep Ace in business, so I guess it might as well be me. So that's those two things, and we'll dry. Now I do have an indicator on here for 20 gallons. Of course, I think the indicator is on the other side. So I'm just going to go with like halfway up. I mean, I think I'm off you know, for a gallon, I think it's probably not the end of the world. And I would probably like, you know, dilute it more than I would make it strong, because I'd rather, probably a poor analogy, but I'd rather send less innocent people to jail and let some criminals go, and as opposed to killing my grass and killing the weeds, I'd rather not kill the weeds as much and still have a good grass. So that's kind of my, maybe that's a poor analogy, but anyway, that's what I'm trying to do here. This fills up pretty quick. This is on the other pump, and okay, so there goes the sprinkler system that's right next to us. I don't think it's getting in front of the tractor, or if it is, it's just a little bit, and it'll only run for 2 minutes. So, and it doesn't spray out here, it just sprays in front there and then back here. I was trying to use this earlier too, but then the pump was broken, so I made a video on how to fix the pump. And I guess what happened with the pump is that it probably froze. I guess because, you know, there's water that stays in the pump. And I guess it froze. I mean, we didn't have that many freezes or anything, but I mean, that's the only explanation I could come up with. It does sit back here, under cover, in the open sort of, but under cover. And so I guess technically it could freeze. But, you know, it was an easy repair, $33 for the part with shipping. And, you know, it's fixed now, so I don't have to buy another $300 or $400, you know, sprayer or a $120 pump. So, pretty psyched about that. Okay, so this is getting about to the point where it needs to be. And, that's probably more than 20 gallons, so we'll call that done. So I opted to keep the bucket on the tractor, the loader, and just for some ballast, but this isn't really that heavy. It's only going to be about 200 to 225 pounds. The actual sprayer itself is not, but probably, I couldn't imagine it'd be more than 50. So I mean, I could drop the loader for maneuverability, but I just figure I'll keep it hooked up, and then, you know. So anyway, so I'll get going, set it up so you guys can see what's going on, And the sprayer does have a gun as well, which I think is very convenient, and I might get some close to the flower bed areas with it to not try to hit the flower beds with the spraying. And although everything is dormant now, so it's probably not a big issue, I probably make more big deal about that than it really needs to be, but you know, and I'll probably just keep the gloves on as well, just because you never know when you're going to kind of incidentally touch the chemical. So anyway. So basically what I try to do here is I try to find a couple days where it's pretty cold, and then like 2 days before Christmas, I was able to get out there with the Ford 16D to use the lawn vac to collect everything in the front yard, and then I did that the day after Christmas in the backyard and cut everything real short. Then we had the night of Christmas and the night after Christmas were both in the 20s, so then it, you know, sort of knocks the grass back into some level of dormancy. And then what I have to do is wet the grass before I apply the 2,4-D, put the spreader sticker on it, and then let it sit for at least 24 hours, I think is what they request. So there can't be any rain in the forecast before or really after I apply the stuff, at least for a couple days. And so we didn't have any weather for another couple days after this, so it kind of worked out pretty good. It doesn't normally work out that good. I think last year it never really worked out for the hard freeze, so I was kind of farting around and actually missed the season. So the dollar wheat had a, you know, one full season of being pretty you know, reasonable. And then you can see in the background here, I actually had the sprinklers on in the last zone. It cycled through all the other ones that went up front, and then didn't go. This was zone 12, so then I had to wait and do another part of the backyard while that, you know, sprayed, because I didn't want to, you know, again, I didn't want to water the product in, so I just had to wait for that. But anyways, so it's basically, you gotta wait for it to, you know, you gotta clean up the yard, you gotta cut it short, you gotta have a couple days of freeze, then you gotta apply it after it's wet, let it sit and dry on the leaves, and then, you know, 24 hours or more later you can water it in. So there's sort of a process here. I think with the atrazine, or at least the regular Scott's Bonus S, which has atrazine in it but no 2,4-D, I don't believe, it is applied when the grass is active, and you're supposed to apply when it's dry, and then you're supposed to water it in immediately. Where I think the opposite is true with the Bahia fertilizer. You can apply in the morning when it's wet, and you throw it out there and let it sit on the weeds and the grass, I guess. It doesn't burn the grass, and you let it sit on the weeds, and it's supposed to kill the weeds. And when I was just working with Bahia, I never had any dollar weeds, probably because of the 2,4-D and the Bahia fertilizer. So anyways, that's the dilemma between these two grasses. Hope you have fun watching the rest of this video. Well, I almost got started on the front yard, but then I realized it was dry, or not as wet as I'd like it to be. Need to do more shots during the summertime when the grass looks better. Makes me look like I don't take care of my yard at all. That looks kind of deadish, but that's kind of what happens when it freezes with our types of grass. And I won't be hitting this area, obviously. This area doesn't have really a whole lot, if any, dollar weed at all. And I think over here too, I'll probably just hit it just because I can over here, but I'll skip that part. Mostly out there is where most of the dollar weed out front is. It's really actually not too bad up in the front yard at all. There's just a little bit up there, and then there's almost none out in this whole stretch, but the idea is we'll keep it that way. So I'm gonna let this run for a few more seconds, hit the other two zones up front. Already hit one, and then I'll get started again. So we're just going to kind of elaborate on the two grasses, the Bahia and the St. Augustine. Basically, what works well to kill weeds in Bahia actually kills St. Augustine. And then what works well to kill weeds in the St. Augustine normally kills Bahia. So if you put atrazine down, which is a St. Augustine additive, then it can kill the Bahia. And vice versa with the 2,4-D if you're not careful and you're doing it at the wrong time of the year. I would never put the 2,4-D down like in June, August, or July or something like that. It'd be a terrible idea. But anyways, and I'm not an expert on this. I've just read a lot about it and looked at the active ingredients and in each of the fertilizers and each of the products that they sell and stuff, and kind of put stuff together and read some ortho lawn books and talked to some other lawn maintenance folks and stuff to try to get an idea of how to maintain the yard. And during the summer it looks a lot better than it does now. So anyways, maybe I'll do some summer picks at some time next year when it's looking a lot nicer. Anyway, hope you like watching the video. Okay, so the job is finally done. I have the electrical disconnected. I have the tank drained out. Everything went pretty well. I did kind of go light on the front yard, partially because I was just kind of starting to run out of stuff. But there's, like I said, there's very little dollarweed up there. You can see there's plenty of dollarweed here, and that has to be taken care of. And actually out there and behind the garage, between the garden shed, is where there's the most. So now you just let it sit there. It has to sit there for 24 hours, so it doesn't rain for another 2 days. Just settle in pretty good, and then you can water it. And after that, I mean, it basically dries on the leaves of the weeds, and then that's supposed to be the stuff that actually, I guess, like, dials them back, kills them. And it does do quite a big number on the dollarweed. The dollarweed just basically disintegrates to nothing. And they do have 2,4-D and atrazine in the fertilizers I use, but not like spraying it with the sprayer. So it's definitely much less concentrated in regular fertilizers, and much more concentrated in the spray solution. So anyway, I appreciate you watching, and hopefully I was able to help you. If you were thinking about doing this, I would read the instructions. By no means should you follow what I'm telling you on my channel. I am not a chemical or yard specialist, but that is what the thing said for ornamental lawns, was 1 gallon of that stuff, of the 2,4-D solution, the high yield, for 15 gallons of water per acre. So again, hopefully that was helpful. Read the instructions though, and you kind of got to figure out what you want to do for your lawn. Anyways, thanks for watching. Hit the like button if you like this video, and if you want to see more like it, hit the subscribe button. And Happy New Year.